Benin, as Unai Emery would say. Good evening to you all. Yes, people. How are we all doing? Hope you're all doing as well as possible after yesterday's utter dross from Tottenham Hotspur Football Club, getting knocked out of the FA Cup in an upset victory for Middlesbrough in a 1-0 loss. Now look, I do apologise that I didn't get an instant match reaction straight out after the game. I thought I'd better leave it for a day. So then when I did come on the video to talk about the game and express my opinions about the crisis, as I like to call it, at Tottenham Hotspur Football Club at the minute, I'd actually be able to properly discuss it instead of ranting and raving and just being really reactionary straight after the game. So look, it has actually paid off because I can come on here now instead of just ranting and raving about how bad certain player performances were and swearing at them. I can generally come on here and talk about what the issue is at the club and what's actually going on at Tottenham Hotspur. But look, before I do get into all of that, you've got to say sometimes, no matter how bad your team performance was or whatever, you've got to give credit to the opposition. And this is one of those times. Middlesbrough, they had a game plan, they executed it absolutely brilliantly. And look, they completely outplayed us. A championship side, they look Premier League quality. And look, since Chris Wilder's come into their team, they've been absolutely brilliant. They've knocked out Manchester United the round before, they've knocked us out now. Great record at the minute in the Championship, good form. They are a real good team. Now, we'll get on to Spurs in a second, and that's not an excuse. We should be beating Middlesbrough, but fair play to them. They're a very good team in a very good position at the minute with a very good manager who I highly rate. A manager, let's not forget, he took Sheffield United from the middle of the Championship to an 8th place finish in the Premier League. So look, best of luck to them, and I do hope to see them in the Premier League next season. They've got a great fan base, fantastic support at the game last night. It's the best support I've heard, not from the Spurs fans. Our away fans are always quality, but from the home fans when we do travel away, their support was absolutely fantastic, all jumping back. It was like watching, fans from a foreign country, such Dutch fans or whatever, just constantly jumping about and supporting their team. So look, fair play to the Borough fans, but from a Spurs fan's perspective, it was very, very poor. You'll get days like this, but that's no excuse for getting knocked out of the FA Cup in the 5th round to a Championship side in the round of 16. I don't care if they beat Manchester United. It's simply not good enough. It's simply not good enough. And certain player performances cost us yesterday. I can't really name one player on the pitch who really stood out to me. Yes, we had a couple decent performances, in my opinion, which were actually in defence. I thought Dyer was alright. I thought Romero was alright. I thought Davies were alright. But look, apart from that, the rest of the team was very poor. Certain players such as Heung-min Son, Harry Winks and Pierre-Emile Højbjerg really did, strike the eye as players who really disappointed yesterday, who simply weren't good enough. And I don't think it's as bad as some fans can make out. It's another year without a trophy. We all understand that's frustrating. It's another painful year. But you've got to look at it from a perspective as it's not an awful situation at Spurs. It's just the inconsistency with this team. We don't have a terrible squad. We don't have a terrible team. We've just got players who are so inconsistent. And that should be our main objective right now. Conte said it in his post-match interview. Shaking and getting that inconsistency out of those players. Because it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's the most Tottenham 2 weeks I've seen in my life. Beating the Premier League champions, then losing to bottom of the table, then demolishing the opposition 4-0 and then getting knocked out by a team the league below you. It's like, it's really, really Tottenham, but it's always certain player performances which always let us down. What's annoying is we'll give these players another chance a week later and they'll really perform. Harry Winks, for example, against Wolves, right? Shocking. Absolutely shocking in that game. Same with Davinson Sanchez. Shocking in that game. But then you play them in a game such as Leeds or whatever. Davinson Sanchez didn't play in that game, obviously. But you play Harry Winks after really poor performances in a game like Leeds. And he excels. Yet he travels up to Middlesbrough yesterday and puts in a piss poor performance. And then we might play him on the weekend and he'll probably excel. And then we'll, put in a bad performance against United. It's that inconsistency in the team that will eventually cost us. And we need to get that out of it. Because if we don't get that inconsistency out of the team, then we're never going to achieve anything. Top 4 now, We need to massively, massively focus on it. I love the FA Cup. I truly do. You know, if you would have seen me last night, it would have been a shadow of today's reaction from me to it, sort of trying to dissect it calmly. Because if you would have asked me last night to do a video on whether on, and you know, I would have come on here, I would just be ranting and raving and swearing. But I'm trying not to do that. I'm trying to dissect the performance of what went wrong. And look, I think you can blame a lot of people. I can completely understand people who will blame the owners, because the owners are the people who brought in these players and brought in Conte without a real plan to back him. I can understand people blaming Conte completely for sticking with a 3-4-3, and I can understand people blaming the players. Okay, he wants to stick with a 3-4-3, it may not work, make it work for him. And I understand all three of those points, completely understand and agree with most of those points. So I don't think you can pinpoint this result down to one person. Just say, yes, it's the board, yes, it's the manager, yes, it's the player. It's all of them combined. That's why we lost that game yesterday. That's why we're at the FA Cup. But one thing stays the same. That's 2 Carabao Cups in the whole of the owner's tenure at the club. No matter your opinions on them, no matter what you say about the owners, people know I prefer them out of the club than in. Because I say Nick out at the end of every single video. But at the end of the day, you've got to look at these owners. And you've got to say 2 Carabao Cups in their whole tenure. When you look at us before they came in, you know, in the 80s, in the 70s, we were winning league titles, winning European Cups, about, you know, 2 or 3 FA Cups a decade, 2 or 3 Carabao Cups a decade. You know, it's shocking since they came in. And it's so Spursy. They've made Tottenham really Spursy. So I can understand the blame on the owners. Like I say, no matter who you want to blame, no matter what you want to say, it's the same situation. It's 2 League Cups, 2 trophies in their entire tenure when you compare our success before they came in. Conte, right? I'll back him completely to the moon. And if anyone's going to get us out of the mess that Tottenham Hotspur are in at the minute and the crisis we're stuck in when it comes to non-investment from the owners, fans arguing amongst themselves, Conte is completely the right man to take us forward. Completely the right man. I trust in everything this man has to offer for Tottenham Hotspur. But you have to admit sometimes when he does get it wrong, you have to call him out when he, you know, gets it wrong. And I have to admit, and other Spurs fans have to admit, no matter your opinions on the board or the players or whatever, he did get it wrong yesterday. He's persisting with a formation that only works against teams that press us. He's trying to counter-attack a team in the Championship. He's a quality manager. I will never deny that. And like I say, if anyone's going to get us out of the crisis in the situation we're in now, it's Antonio Conte. But his tactics simply aren't working. And you can see it from a mile off. If I can see it, someone who's never had real interaction with a beautiful game, probably playing or managing or whatever, if I can see it, then most people can see it. Because it's ridiculous. I don't understand why he's doing it. We've seen it time after time after time again. He's persisting with a 3-4-3 because it works in a couple of games. It works against Manchester City. It works against Leeds. It only works against the teams that are in denial. Right? Leeds, you know, constantly persist with attack, no matter what. And I respect Bielsa for that because he entertained me for years. But you knew they were going to attack us. They weren't going to change their philosophy. And it cost them. Manchester City thought they'd have more quality than us. They were in denial about how good we would be on the counter-attack and if we would be clinical or not. We took our chances in that game. We beat them. Okay, that's consistency there from Spurs. But what's also consistent with us is when we play against a team that plays a low block, that plays good defensive football, that defends very narrow and, you know, defends mainly in the middle, we can't break them down. We cannot break down a team that focuses their defensive play in the midfield or in the middle of their defence, or a team that plays a low block. We saw it against Burnley, we saw it against Wolves, we saw it against Middlesbrough. We contribute to our own errors. You know, we can sit back against the Manchester City, but when we're forced not to sit back and actually go for the opposition, we can't do it. We can't do it. It was so much better on the counter-attack. I'd prefer to be playing top teams every week than the Burnleys, than the Middlesbroughs, because we can't break them down. So we saw it against Burnley, we saw it against Wolves. We saw it yesterday against Middlesbrough. Every single one of those games, we made errors which cost us the game. Every single one of those games, we weren't as poor as the scoreline tells you. Yesterday, we weren't as poor as the scoreline tells you. We weren't brilliant, but we weren't as poor as the scoreline tells you. The Emerson Royale, makes a silly mistake by playing the youngster on the side, and he scores a fantastic goal. Burnley, Romero makes a mistake by not jumping up for the header, headed straight in by Ben Mee. Wolves, a silly mistake by Hugo Lloris and a silly mistake by Ben Davies cost us the game. We're contributing to our own downfall, and the reason we've got so much inconsistency in the team is because of our own mistakes. If we can cut out those mistakes, we can get some consistency. But it's those mistakes which are costing us. But then there's also the argument at the same time is that, okay, Conte's persisting with his 3-4-3. It's not working in games. All the blame goes to Conte. All the blame goes to Levy. Some of the blame has to go to the players. And especially yesterday. Yes, Conte's to blame slightly for yesterday. Yes, the owners are. But I think a majority of the blame yesterday for why we're not in the FA Cup and sitting here right now and talking about Spurs in the quarterfinals of the FA Cup is because of the players. It's too inconsistent. It's far too inconsistent. 1 week we can play that formation and turn up for the manager, and the next week we don't feel like it. And I don't get it with Spurs. I don't get it with Spurs. I think Heung-min Son and Harry Kane are two of the best players in the world. On their day, they are the two best players in the world. I honestly do believe that. But the reason they're not classed as the best players in the world is because they're so inconsistent. They can have a game like Manchester City. They can have a game like Leeds, both of them. But then they can have a game like a Burnley or a Middlesbrough the week after. And it's like these two strikers here, they're so good. They're so quality. But they're so inconsistent. And it's not just a thing under Conte. It's a thing throughout their careers. They can have a fantastic and quality week and a quality game. And in the next game, they can be really, really poor. And we saw it again yesterday. Heung-min Son couldn't hit a barn door. He had two quality chances. He had a header in the last minute. And, he tries to backheel it with a quality chance in extra time, when he could have just turned on it and easily had enough space and time to shoot the ball, which he would have probably scored. Those two silly decisions cost us the game. Those two silly decisions are why we didn't take it to penalties, or why it didn't go to extra time. Harry Kane as well, slipping and sliding all over the pitch. Okay, that's unlucky, but no other players did. Completely scuffed a free kick, misplacing passes throughout the game, lost the ball about 10 times, Sonny lost it about 18. These two players can have a game like Leeds, they can have a game like City, then they can go and have a game like Burnley or Borough. It's frustrating from a fan's perspective, and that's why I think it's such a strange defeat to be talking about. Because I'd love to say it's this, but you can't pinpoint it on anyone, because the inconsistency is confusing all of the fans. It really is. But yesterday, like I say, up front, we were inconsistent. We always are. In defence, I think we were really decent. But our worst area of the field by a country mile was midfield. Absolutely rolled over. Absolutely dominated in midfield. Harry Winks and Højbjerg are only thinking about their own statistics in that game. And people dismiss how important Oliver Skipp and Rodrigo Bentancur are for the team based on star power and name value. If we had those two players in the game yesterday, we'd win it, because they control the game, they play forward passes, they spot the players running down the wing. Because the aim of playing the 3-4-3 is for the midfielders, for the two central midfielders to spot the wing back and the wing backs to cross it in. The wing backs weren't crossing in anything. Doherty wasn't crossing in anything. He missed an open goal, but he wasn't crossing in the ball. Sessegnon wasn't crossing in the ball because they barely had any chances to. Every time our midfield got the ball, they'd pass it straight back to defence. And it'd be the same sequence of events every time. Defence to midfield, midfield back to goalkeeper, defence to midfield, back to the defence. And then the defence will just play it long, because they're thinking, we're not getting anywhere passing it to the midfield. They're not playing it forward. They're just being far too patient. So we'll just hoof it forward and hope for the best. And then Borough will get the ball again, time after time after time again. It's so frustrating. It's so frustrating. And like I say, you can beat around the bush all you want. It's another trophy that we've been knocked out of. You know, next year it's going to be 15 years without a trophy. 23 years without a Carabao Cup. That's what it's going to be next year. It's painful, man. It really is. But where do we go from here? It's a tough one to take, but we need consistency. We do need consistency. Top 4 is there for the taking. It has been time after time again. If we didn't make those mistakes against Wolves and Southampton in those two midweek games, and he's got a point in both of those, we'd be in the top 4 right now. Yet we're not. We're not because of that inconsistency. It's all well and good having games in hand. You've got to win them. You've got to win them. And I'm not confident we bloody will. I really am not confident we will. Brighton away, and you know, I believe the other game in hand is Arsenal. That game's going to decide the season. The Man United game, you know, is going to decide the season. But what's so frustrating is we don't know what Spurs is going to turn up in those two games. You could have the quality Spurs we saw against Manchester City turn up against United, and then a rubbish Spurs turn up in the North London derby. The inconsistency is probably what's going to cost us top 4. And we need to erase that, because I'm not having any of this top 4 races over. It is on. It is on. With the position we're in and the points we've got, top 4 is still possible. With other teams like Man United and Arsenal dropping points. Probably one of the worst top 4 races I've ever seen in my life. Not for entertainment, it's brilliant. But by how bad the quality is, it's like everyone's fighting not to get that 4th place. But look, we need consistency. We need 2 wins in a row. That's what we need. If we don't beat Everton, we don't get top 4 in my head. Because the players will understand there's no consistency in the team. And it will just be win, loss, win, loss, win, loss, win, loss. Time after time again. We need that Everton win. Crucially, for points on the table. And, you know, other teams playing before us on the weekend. And we need it for confidence heading into that Manchester United team. So, look, it's very doubtful with top 4 based on the inconsistency in the team. But we need it. We need it to achieve anything out of this season. We need it probably for Conte and Kane to stay. But look, thank you for watching this video. I hope you have enjoyed. Make sure as well to smash that subscribe button and hit that like button as hard as you possibly can. Flipping hiccups. Make sure to hit that subscribe button as hard as you possibly can. Take care of yourselves. All the best. God bless. And as always, come on you Spurs. Enoch out. In Conte, we trust.